one middle-aged guy tried to work one thing out. One middle-aged guy tried to work one thing out. Hey folks, thanks for listening. Dave's here, and as always, with me is my good friend. He's not with me. Chris isn't here. Chris isn't here because this is one of our, I haven't quite got the name on it yet, but one of our little, interstitial, or I'm not saying the word right. So the small things that are in between the big things episode, I believe that's the one I'm getting for. So this is a little mini, a little short. Today I wanted to talk to you about something that happened in the news. It's not groundbreaking, it's not earth-shattering, but for those of us who are interested in video games, the history, the legacy of video games, and even a little bit of the business side of video games, this is pretty important. Atari, the new Atari that's trying hard to be relevant again, has acquired Intellivision. Now, let's talk about why this is important. I'm going to give you 3 top-line reasons why this is important. We'll dive into those just a little bit. So the first thing is Atari and Intellivision were the earliest example of a console war. They were like Sega versus Nintendo, or Sony versus Microsoft. You know, those little bit more modern wars we're familiar with. This really truly was Atari and Mattel's Intellivision, the first console war. Atari came out earlier in the 70s with the VCS, later redubbed the 2600. The Intellivision came out in 1979, made by toy manufacturer Mattel. Now, the VCS over the course of its lifetime, or the 2600 as most people know it, from Atari, sold about 30 million units, whereas the Intellivision only sold about 5 million units, but there truly was a war there, right? The Intellivision was a more advanced machine, played more arcade quality things, and so that was the first console war, so I think that's interesting now that we have an acquisition from that. I think the second interesting thing here is that Atari's kind of back, right? Atari's doing something more than just leveraging its its disappearing legacy, its mismanaged legacy. It is trying to bring that back with things like the Atari 50th anniversary console that will play real Atari games designed for users. It's My Arcade Atari, I believe it's called the Atari Deluxe or something like that, plug-and-play system, which is a very nice premium plug-and-play system. Here it's got a little problem maybe with the controllers, but it's definitely got some unique stuff to it, lots of built-in games. They're getting away from that history of at-home games, those disposable cheap things you could buy at Walmart, Kmart, the Dollar General store, garage sales, and ultimately thrift stores and flea markets. These super cheap plug and play things. They had a handful of games and then would snap after the controllers would after about 30 seconds of play. So Atari is growing up, right? They had their experiment with the new VCS, which was supposed to be like play some of your retro games, play some Steam games. You also got a Windows computer. Neat idea. Didn't quite have the market or the marketing right on that. Didn't quite work. I wish it would have. I think it was actually a cool idea with some great looking controllers. Just didn't quite make it. But Atari is going in the right direction. And here they are acquiring something with assets, with a name that is tied into their core their core mission, their core competency, which is that legacy piece. And then also, the Atari 50 compilation that they recently put out, which is considered by many to be one of the greatest works of retro video gaming. It's playable games. It's a museum. It's a learning experience. It's a documentary. It's a lot of really great stuff. So I think you can see right now, Atari is back, and that is cool. The last interesting piece on this is what has been going on with Intellivision for the last several years. Intellivision has tried to break out with their own console, the Intellivision Amico, which is a new console that's more family-oriented, couch co-op type oriented. That means people not playing online, playing in front of their couches and playing as a family. Really very much like a Wii-like device. Some motion controls. This has been headed by, until recently, by Tommy Tallarico. If that's a name you've heard, he is the man who is a legend in video game music. He, I think, has made music for every video game ever made, according to him. I don't think it's quite that much. He's also the nephew, or cousin of Aerosmith's Steven Tyler. He's actually quite a good musician. He heads this retro game music live show where they go around the country and do video game music live in concert halls. I hear that's actually quite good. But anyways, they've been trying to release this thing called the Amico, this new system, supposed to be lower cost, novel controller, games for the whole family, no violence. They have not been able to get it off the shelves. What little they've shown of it doesn't look like it's going to work. It really looks like it's going to go nowhere and it's going to die. So as Atari has bought Intellivision, they bought their name, their IP, but they did not buy the Amico. Now, that's very interesting. So Atari's now got the selection of games. And let's just face it, folks, right? If you're a hardcore retro gaming person, you know that there's some cool stuff on the Intellivision because it was of that generation of system, which is what we call the Gen 2, right? Atari and Intellivision and Coleco and Odyssey were all in this Generation 2, just after the super simple stuff that came out, really just after the Generation 1, which was pretty much just Pong and some Pong variants. Then we got Generation 2. Of that Generation 2, Intellivision didn't really have a lot of great games. They had some clones, they had some arcade ports. Because it was more advanced, the arcade ports looked better than the Atari's arcade ports. Questionable whether they looked better than the Coleco ones. So I don't know. You get the games, and there's a few of them, like some of the skiing games, some of the sports games, and maybe I think they had an original Shark that looked pretty cool. But it's not like they're getting, a killer app. They're not getting Intellivision's, version of a Mario that they can turn around and print money with. It's going to be an interesting thing to see what they do. But what they did not get is the Amico. The Amico continues as a separate business. Amico folks have already said, yeah, we got a plan to license back some of these Intellivision properties to build games for the Amico. This is a smart business move for the Atari folks. Sure, we'll buy the things in your orbit of Intellivision, including the name and the games, those things that have value. You can keep that little device, the Amico, that's probably never going to come back. But if you want some of this stuff, yeah, we'll let you license it from us, see what happens. Very, very smooth. So the interesting thing is what does this leave for the Amico? I think it's just a further decline, maybe even a faster decline of the Amico as either a true physical hardware device console or even as some sort of gaming platform. I think that this is just about the end of that. So, the conclusion that I'd bring here, right, we always try to figure something out, is that it's really interesting to see Atari, a company that has not done much with its legacy over the years, do something here. Put out premium products like the VCS, failure though it may have become. Put out premium products like the new Atari console, I believe the 50th anniversary edition. Put out the Atari 50 collection across platforms, which is being hailed as one of the greatest retro game, pieces of software ever produced. They're doing things. That's great. Now they're doing things on the business side. They're acquiring, they're building their empire a little bit. They're, an Atari on the move, trying to bring back what they were a little bit to the extent that it's possible in this new retro game world. Who knows? Maybe there are more acquisitions in the future. I would be very interested to see what ColecoVision or maybe some of the lesser known arcade manufacturers, those IPs, what they could get. But I'd definitely be open to seeing some more of those stuff, and seeing Atari do that a little bit more to build their base. I don't think we're going to get a new future Atari console like a VCS2 or like a Jaguar 2023 or anything like that. I think they're going to stay in their lane as the retro masters, but I think they're going to be established as the retro company. Pre-Nintendo, it was just Atari. That's what they're going for. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. Love to hear back from you on this. If you want to speak with us, go check us out at 2middleageguys.com. That's the numeral 2. Or go to our Facebook page. Or this is going to be posted on YouTube, so check us out on YouTube. We get lots of traffic there. Love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you all have a really great day.